Welcome back to the Open Door Nashville podcast. This week we are sitting down with the Willis clan. For those of you who don't know who they are, the Willis clan is a family of 14, 12 kids, all J names, and then their father and mother, Toby and Brenda. They're from Ashland City, Tennessee, and they're a family basically that is so talented it's not even fair or funny.
Yeah.
I mean, everything from music, dance, wrestling. I think I heard someone say leatherworking.
Yeah, leatherworking.
Like, are y'all bad at anything?
Right.
Seriously, come on. We got to go out to their house and actually sit down with them and talk. And they're, a family of 14, you would think that it's so chaotic and so overwhelming. But you get there and everybody just is like so loving and takes care of each other. It's just really... It's really cool to see, and they're also talented. It's just like it's so unfair because it's such like a perfect family,
They seem like they have it more together than me, and at my house it's just me, my wife, and a dog.
I mean, more together than me, and I just have me.
Right. Yeah.
But anyway, you may also know them from their TV show on GAC, or most recently, they were on the Today Show, and they won I think it was called the New Sound of Music Family, was the contest.
Like the modern Von Trapps.
Yes. And
who we found out are actually a real family.
Yeah, we didn't know that, to be honest.
Like she mentioned, Brenda mentioned in the interview that she said something about the Von Trapp family, and I was like, I didn't think they were real. And we get on Wikipedia, and we're like, well, we're just dumb. They are real.
We learn something new every day. They do. They know more than us, too.
Exactly, yeah.
But the reason we wanted to sit down with the Willis clan was because they are a family band. There's not a ton of family bands. There's a band Perry, and you can name others, but it doesn't seem like a really, especially for 12 kids.
Right.
It didn't really.
It's such an unconventional format for Nashville.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yet they're still able to have found some success. Even with the odds sort of stacked against them because they're so unusual and so not like everything else out there, which, that makes it difficult.
And we wanted to talk to them mainly about how they keep the family focused and how they keep their morals and values in line while they are trying to make it as a band.
Right. And and this first segment we're about to cut to, Brenda is going to give you the story of how they were quote unquote discovered. But then you're also going to learn about all the work that goes into getting yourself to the point where you can actually be, so they say, discovered.
We were enjoying Irish music. There was a concert here in Nashville at a little tiny pub at Findlay's Irish Pub inside the Opryland Hotel. Huh. And we went to see this concert. These guys play to audiences of 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 people, and they were playing in this little itty-bitty pub at Findlay's. We knew who they were. We went to see the concert. The pub was packed. There was no place on the floor for our kids to dance, so they jumped up on the bar and they were dancing on the bar. It created. This is how it happened in Nashville for us. We're at this little pub, standing room only, no place to dance on the floor, so they jump on the bar and they start dancing on the bar. And there's a young man in there that came up to me afterwards and said, "You created something in this audience that was absolutely electric. I want you to dance and to perform. I'm going to be opening an Irish pub on Music Row." And I thought, okay, yeah, right, whatever. He was just talking. And sure enough, he did open an Irish pub. It's Dan McGuinness Irish Pub.
No way.
And this was before it ever opened. And he said, next year, I would like you to do some performing. And sure enough, he asked us, we got back in contact, he asked us to perform at the first St. Patrick's Day event that he did. So that was obviously March. The day after Christmas, our house burned down and we lost all of our instruments, every instrument. No. So that's December. And we had our first ever concert in March. And a lot of circumstances there, but we ended up buying our instruments back almost immediately. I tell people after underwear, I bought instruments because we lost everything in the fire. And we did that first concert. We did that same gig at that pub for 8 years in a row.
Wow.
8 years in a row. Really no other concerts except for playing at church and stuff.
We did one concert a year at that.
One concert a year.
The
sixth year, I believe it was. I believe the sixth year, we got discovered by a vice president of one of the big record labels in Nashville, who happened to be there just enjoying St. Patrick's Day.
Drunk?
Yep.
Came up to me, grabbed one
Didn't
of my
think it was, you have no idea who I am. I'm like, yes, I know you're drunk. You know what? I don't know anything. But it was just us doing what we were doing. When we moved to Nashville, we were not trying to. Jess had 3 lessons on the fiddle. We were not trying to make it big in the music industry.
Right.
We came to Nashville. We knew there was a lot of music in Nashville.
How long ago was that?
12 years.
Okay.
And when we came to Nashville, we were just doing what we were doing. We would do music in church. We would do music as a family just because that creates a beautiful quality of life. Music is just an awesome thing to put in your life. And it draws the family together. And we were doing that. And then, we had seen Riverdance, and we had gotten our kids into Irish dancing. And when you go to music festivals, that live music inspires children. If they're there and it's good music, it inspires them. Well, they got excited. We bought a few instruments. We tried to learn. We failed. They took over. It was that kind of, this was not a planned, calculated thing. It was just very organic. It started happening. They started getting good.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's totally unplanned, but you don't necessarily know where it's all going. But the idea was, it wasn't like, how do we create a lot of money and how do we, make a hit. It wasn't that. It was, how do we have a great life? How do we create great people?
Yet, as much as he's saying it's like not planned as far as business-wise, like things were planned and things were intentional to learn those skills.
Right.
Just because, if you think Nashville, you think songwriting, right? So like Mom said, when we moved here, I'd had like 3 lessons on fiddle and people were just starting. When we moved here, we've been here for a number of years. I had always written my whole life, poetry and stuff like that, and started composing tunes, and that was just natural. I did that for a while.
You wrote your first song at 7, right?
Well, I heard that Mozart started pretty young, so I was like competitive. I was like, I must write something at the age of 7. It was like his first symphony or something, so I wrote this little ditty.
They were listening to Mozart when they were a kid, and I was like running around watching Power Rangers and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and all that kind of stuff. I didn't even pick up a guitar until I was 12.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. It seems I loved what Toby said about how the goal wasn't to how do we create money. It was how do we create great people, and I thought that was really something kind of special and different. That a lot of people in business, and not just the music business,
all businesses,
you don't really ever hear that. You
right.
know, and it's a great way to look at it, and I think they've created a lot of happiness and.
Well, and the funny thing is, when you are able to create something outside of the money goal, when you're successful at creating the great people like they have, the money follows that.
Yeah.
Because at some point, and they pointed this out, at some point the business side does become intentional.
Yeah.
But before you can be intentional about the business, you have to have something that's great. And that's what they've been so good at doing. And that's in this next section, they talk about that a little more, about the goal and sort of how they were trying to give something to people that people didn't even know they want.
Yeah.
Which is a really interesting concept. So we'll get into that now.
Thing like that in a show like this, So just being who we're being. I think that, if I can make this analogy, Duck Dynasty is so popular because it is a family doing what they do, loving it, having fun with it. They have morals. They have a reason why they're doing what they're doing. And America is enjoying looking into something that's not a train wreck. They're enjoying looking at a family that is doing what they're doing, loving each other, supporting each other, doing what they're supposed to be doing. I think we are that.
Created a family, by and large, we've got music, we've got dance, but we've created this family brand that when people see it, they really, really like it. And it's not just, hey, I have dads coming up to me all the time. I love the music, but there is so much more going on here than the music. And I know that we're resonating with the audience. It's just a matter of getting in front of the audience. And a lot of times the business people don't, they're not out there to see middle America respond. Right. And, we literally, I feel like in many ways, have to brute force our way, have to work a lot harder, force our way a lot harder to not give people what they're asking for, but to give people what they really need. And that is a battle that, we're not the only guys that have to do that. I tell people that Henry Ford has been quoted, saying that if I gave people what they asked for, they would have wanted a faster horse.
Right.
You know, and really what people wanted was an automobile. They just didn't know it until someone built it, gave it to them affordable.
Man, that's a great quote that Toby ended with. Again, the Henry Ford thing.
Yeah.
And he also went on a little bit after that to talk about Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs had a really similar approach of building the product that people didn't know they need.
Yeah.
You know, like, I didn't know I needed an iPhone.
I did.
And, well, yeah. Okay.
Of course, it had been out for like 10 years before
Right,
I got
exactly,
one,
yeah.
but I knew I needed it.
Yeah, we caught on eventually. But that's what they've done with the Willis clan. It's, you know, you have to go beyond just delivering what people want.
Yeah.
Because there's so much out there now. There's so much music available that it, you know, it's the acts that go the extra mile and give you something that you weren't expecting.
Yeah.
That you to like.
And that doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, something, you know,
That'd be
Miley
shocking,
Cyrus-esque.
Right.
It's shocked in a different way. Like I love the Duck Dynasty reference,
right?
And I know my parents will too. But the whole thing is it's kind of got a wholesome feeling to it. You know,
right.
something that's real and not too forced. No matter, it is goofy and there is acting in it, but you know, it's actually really what they do. You know, they're kind of a bunch of bayou rednecks with big beards that sell duck hunting stuff. What is it? Is it duck
calls?
Yeah, duck call thing, whatever it is. I apologize, Duck Dynasty people, if you ever. I like y'all, but I don't know a whole lot about it. But I do agree with what Brenda said about that. I just think. You know, and then back to Toby quoting saying, give people what they need, not what they want, you know?
Yeah. And now the next segment, they're going to talk about something that's equally as important. And we've hit on it before, but it's about the importance of having a team to help you along the way with the stuff. Because everyone has strengths and weaknesses. And especially if you're an artist out there, there's a lot of things that go into being a successful artist that probably aren't your strong suit, and you're going to have to reach out and meet people to help you. For the Willis clan, they're a little bit different in that they have all those people almost within their family.
Yeah.
So they've been able to, you know, find all the kids' different strengths and weaknesses, and some of them, you know, do the artwork for the album. You know, they took us upstairs to their computer and like...
One of them was making a book.
A children's book, yeah. There was like artwork up there for a children's book.
And not only was she making the children's book and drawing it, it was a really good concept for a book.
It was awesome. Yeah, but so they're going to go into the importance of surrounding yourself with people who have skills that are going to complement the ones that you have.
You can have all the talent in the world, all the material in the world, but if you don't have a complete package to present, people are going to walk right past you, and you're not going to have any way to get it out. I was not a business person when we started this, but I have become a business person. Jer has become the instrumental go-to man. If he doesn't play the instrument, and we need that on a recording, he will learn the instrument, create the part, and be so good at it within the hour that he can record it on the album.
Wow.
He's that man. Jessica is the one that comes up with our material. By and large, the others are starting to contribute, but by and large, she comes up with the material. Jet and Jenny provide supporting harmonies, supporting instruments. The fact that we have all the little kids, we have dancers, which makes a very interesting dynamic. Toby, none of this could be done without Toby. He is the producer. He has the artist's hat on that's able to produce the music. He's the tech guy that creates our website. He's the audio engineer that figures out all this gear, what we need for monitors, what we need for speakers, what we need for a soundboard. So everybody plays a part, and it's a whole package within the family, and we're not having to pay outrageous amounts of money for a web designer or a sound man or other people's music or session players. We're actually kind of self-contained being within the family. If you come to Nashville and you don't have all those pieces in place, you just have a pretty face and you can play 3 chords on a guitar, you're going to have a very difficult time assembling that team. And you do need an entire team, a whole package. And then you have to have something to present to people that's going to be different and unique. You have to have your niche. If you come in saying, I want to be a country singer, and you can play 3 chords on a guitar, I just think
That's
we have a really hard
10,000 people
time.
in town that can probably do it better than you.
Right. So the key thing is that they've built a team that is multi-talented. I mean, yes, it's within their family, and that's, something that most people, I don't have a bunch of siblings that I can ask to do things for me, but like I think when people move to Nashville, they forget about the importance of having people working with you and complementing your skills who are like outside the music business, or aren't in a position of power and prestige and stuff like that. But I mean, it can be as important to have a buddy who can help you design your website as it is to
Well, I mean, man, it's kind of like you and me.
Right.
We both went to Belmont. I was a music business major. You were too, but you switched to English.
Then I quit. Yeah. No, I switched my major to English.
And you started working for an management company.
And author management, which doesn't have all that much to do with the music business.
Yeah, but you've still lived in Nashville. You still know the music business. You still work with people in the music business. And you just do a whole lot more writing, now. And
I like to think that I'm useful for people in the music business. I mean,
we are friends. That's not the only reason I'm friends with you. But and then going out to Brandon, who helps us do web stuff.
Yeah.
He. We got to know him, and we were like, well, we need a guy to do web and design for us, when we reached out to him. And we've kind of built a team, intentionally but unintentionally.
Right, and it's just so crucial, like they were saying, to have that team. So it's a good thing to remember when you're out meeting people, don't just necessarily look for the obvious person who can help you out. Look for those other relationships that can be critical long term. So in this last little section we have for you guys, they're going to tell one of their more memorable stories from being on the Grand Ole Opry and how, through
they kind of shocked everybody.
Right.
They're talking about their own shock value, and it's also the reason they've actually been invited back to the Opry repeatedly. And most of you know, and for those of you who don't, the Opry is like sacred ground, Getting to be a part of the Opry in any way is really, it's just like that's the dream, for many artists, and that they're asked to be on the Opry repeatedly. Anytime there's an opening, they're basically asked on,
and that's no small feat to be able to be in that position. And this story is going to tell you how they were, able to stand out and be memorable.
So we're on the Opry. The big six are out there playing. Jasmine, number 7, goes out to do a little dance with what they're playing. Jada's in my arms. She's 2 years old at the time. And we're standing in the wings, and she's in my arms, and she starts to wiggle. And my manager is standing next to me, and Pete Fisher, the general manager of the Opry, is standing next to him. And she starts to wiggle. I want to dance. I'm like, no, this is the Opry. It's sold out. You can't just run out there and dance. So she wiggles out of my arms, and she's standing at my feet. And I look at my manager, and he's just like, shakes his head, no. And she gets away from me and bolts to the middle of the stage where the circle is, and just starts dancing her little heart out. The crowd roars. The big kids didn't even know what was happening.
We're like, we're doing good.
They turn, and it's a 2-year-old dancing in the circle in the middle of the Opry stage. So they kind of turn, they start dancing, playing to her. She's like dancing her heart out. The crowd goes insane, just insane. And they get a standing ovation at the end, and the general manager turns around and says, "You come back anytime you're in town."
That is awesome.
So more of the story, get a 2-year-old to dance with the secret weapon. It works every time.
So it's not the perfect show. It's not what you think they want. It's
shock value.
It is, and it doesn't mean do something really stupid on stage. Just I can't explain it. It's not really tangible.
So with that, we're not telling you to just run up on the Opry stage and start dancing if you want to make a great impression. It worked for the Willis clan, but it's going back to shock value. Have something special. Everybody's got something special about them. Figure out what that is. What's true. You think you're special.
Yeah.
Figure out what it is. What really resonates with you and what's going to resonate with other people, and put that on display.
Make that a part of your show.
Yeah,
or whatever
that's your shock value. You don't have to swing from a wrecking ball naked, you know, on YouTube.
Right.
But, you know.
I hope no one finds that video of me doing that, by the way. But anyway, yeah, we're going to leave you guys with, we talked about earlier how they were on the Today Show. So they've done some Sound of Music, some numbers from the Sound of Music. This is a song you've probably heard before, Edelweiss. And, you know, it's Christmas time right now. A lot of you are probably about to be with your families. And if y'all's families are anything like ours, I know you have some family members who absolutely love the Sound of Music. So this is a cool thing to share with them. We're going to put a link down there for you guys where you can download it for free, actually.
For free.
Yeah. So that is very cool. And thank you to the Willis clan for making that available.
Again, we appreciate all of you listening, and don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, clicking the subscribe button on iTunes below. You can also find us on Facebook, Open Door Nashville, or Twitter, Open Door Nash. Follow us. We want followers.
Yeah, we want to get to know you guys.
And from Open Door Nashville and the Willis clan, Merry Christmas!